Hang Time, My Life in Basketball with one of the all-time greats, Elgin Baylor. It is right here on the desk, and it should be in your hands right now. Reading Hang Time, My Life in Basketball, Elgin Baylor here in person on the Rich Eisen Show. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. Why this book? Why now? Why Hang Time now?
No, people have been asking me. This has been years, since I've retired, about writing a book. And I said, no, I'm not, interested in writing a book. And I was thinking, a lot of personal things happened in my life, and I didn't want to discuss it or get into it, details and things. So I just kept putting it off. And so my wife and I, we sat down and talked about it, and she, very encouraging things. So she said, you should write a book. So I decided to do it.
Mm-hmm. Sit down. And now that this is all out here, are you concerned about putting some of this personal stuff in here?
No, I'm not concerned.
So then what's the most, what would you say is the item that was most concerning to you about putting in a book that you did put in this book?
I don't know. Right off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
What would the name Donald Sterling leap to mind?
Oh, Donald Sterling. I forgot about that. I don't even bring that to my mind.
Okay. Right. It's not something that's at the top of your mind.
No, not at all.
What was it like working for him, Elgin?
Well, it was very, very, difficult. It was, wasn't easy because he's the type of guy that would change his mind. You never know from what mood he's in from one to the next. And you get set down and talk, discuss. You're going to do one thing, and next thing you know, he's going to decide, okay, we're not going to do it. And so it was, very difficult. It wasn't easy, especially signing players. That means you had to start paying some money. And Don didn't like to be paying the money. And that was the toughest part, signing players.
Well, I mean, in this book, just reading it, the moment that you described with Danny Manning,
right,
after you drafted one of the all-time greats from Kansas,
right,
and he's now going to come to Southern California. That was a big moment for the Clippers organization to have somebody of Danny Manning's character and someone of Danny Manning's stature come off of a national championship run with Larry Brown, who is obviously very familiar to Los Angeles basketball fans. Can you walk my listeners and viewers through that part of your book here, what happened with Danny Manning?
Well, Danny came in and his contract was up. And, he and his agent came there and they wanted to discuss, salary, which is normal. And Don didn't want to pay him what really he rightfully deserved because Danny was a very, good player. He was the first player picked in the draft. And Don didn't want to pay him the money that he wanted, he and his agent. I thought it was very, very reasonable. In fact, I thought it should have been more than he was asking for, but I didn't want to get into it because Don was always concerned about money. So I said, hey, maybe you can save some money. And so, sat down and discussed it. So Danny, had his agent. We sat there and we talked. And finally, Don said, well, just at the point where this, the negative remark that he made in the book about Danny, man, sometimes I try to even get it out of my head. Sometimes I just even forget it was even said.
He referred to his race, is what he referred to.
Right, a poor black kid. I don't know if he said kid or boy, but just a lot of money. And that was a reasonable amount because it was just a little bit above the average salary that players were making. And Danny was an all-star player. He made the all-star team, and he was a good, basketball player. And when Donald said that, I was just shocked, that he would say something like that, especially to him, to his face. Now, you'd say something like that maybe to the agent if the agent's not around. But to say something like that, it was very upsetting.
How'd you put the pieces back together?
Well, Danny, Danny, ended up leaving the trading, and Danny never recovered from it. His agent, and it was difficult because the agent, when you're trying to get players, make deals, you had to go through the agent, see. And then when he's doing something like that, and it's tough, trying to patch it up, with the agent. It wasn't that easy, and then it was difficult trying to get players to come to the team because of that. That was nationwide. Everybody read about it, knew about it. And when you talk to agents, they say, well, listen, I don't want my player being Donald Sterling. It was very difficult to get players, unless the guy was just desperate and needed a job.
Are the Clippers cursed, Elgin Baylor?
I don't believe in stuff like that, curses and all that stuff. I don't. I just think if you're good enough, it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, one of the reasons because you don't have the ability to do it. But as you say, curse, it could be.
Elgin Baylor here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hang time, my life in basketball. What was it like moving with the Lakers from Minnesota to here in Los Angeles? Elgin?
Well, I got drafted. I was the first picked in the draft. Fortunate. And so I was just happy to be drafted. I didn't realize I would be the first pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. And so Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's a wonderful city. The people were just wonderful, grateful and everything else because they invite me to the dinner and everything else. But the problem was, it wasn't a major problem. It was snow. It was snow every night. Every morning you wake up, the street sweepers are sweeping the snow and everything else. And it was cold. I mean, it would get like 29, 28, 29 degrees below zero. Mm-hmm. But the people were really nice. The city was clean city. And I was just there for season. Right. And get an opportunity to move elsewhere. And what happened, we, just before the season started, you go around, have a training camp, and we play exhibition games. And so so we decided to go out to California. Came out in Bakersfield, California, and I had never been there before. And I said, "Man, wouldn't it be great if they had a team out here?" And I never thought about it. And we moved back. And when we came back home, next thing I know, downstairs we were moving out there to California, and I just could not believe it because it was 25 below zero when I left Minneapolis. And out there in Bakersfield, it was like about 85 degrees. And I said, wouldn't it be nice if we had a team out here?
Was there any showtime at all?
No.
No showtime out here? Not for the first?
Not when it first started out, no.
So,
in the showtime.
Elgin Baylor here on the Rich Eisen Show. Most talented teammate you ever had was who?
Man, you say the talented teammate. I don't know. They had a lot of players. Well, I would say Jerry. Jerry would be one.
Jerry West?
Yeah, Jerry would be, naturally. Trying to think,
How about the best player you ever played against?
Best player I ever played against. Trying to get back some, some of the players because I don't want to make any of them feel bad. I didn't pick them,
Understood.
But the what now?
Right.
What was the question?
No, the best player you've ever played against.
Against? Well, it depends on what you're looking for in the player. If I had to pick one player to start a franchise,
yes,
and I want to win championships, no one would ever guess. I've asked people that question they ask, and none of them ever guess who I would take. And if you take a guess who you think I would take.
Of all time in the history
of all
the
the players in the history of the game.
Wilt?
No.
Russell?
You're right. Bill Russell. Bill Russell won 11, I think, 13 years championship every year. And the year he didn't win a championship, he was hurt. I mean, the guy was just incredible. And think about it, see, people look at the score, look at statistics, see. Yeah. And Russell's statistics wasn't that bad because nobody didn't take shots. He was shooting a high percentage because most of his shots were dunks inside the key. And the guy was incredible. I mean, the way he played, And people were just shocked. They said, Russell, and they'll just look at the stats and see the guy there with 12, 13 points a game. Sure. But look at the intangible things. Hey, he's going to save you 30, 40 points.
Who's the player that's playing in the NBA today, Elgin Baylor, that could have held his own in the league while you were playing and with the rules that you were playing on?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. LeBron James. I mean, he's like a freak of nature. I mean, this guy, man, he's built like Hercules. I mean, he's 6'8", and I think he weighs like 275 or 280. I mean, he should be out there playing football, too. But, I mean, he is one heck of an athlete.
What about Westbrook with all the triple-doubles? We're hearing the name
Westbrook
Oscar
would be
Robertson.
my second name in guards. Westbrook would be, I mean, first guard would be, it's tough, because Jerry West was a terrific player, too, And then Oscar was a terrific, player, too. And Oscar, see, would have the advantage because of his size. Oscar, could have played football. I mean, he's a big, strong guy. But I take, I say either one of them, play with either one of them. I take either one of them.
The guy from your era who would have been the best at shooting threes, if there was a 3-point line.
That's, God dang. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of, the shooters. There were a lot of good shooters, but the 3-point line, who would take it? Whoever thought was.
Do you prefer the game with the 3-point line? Elgin?
No, well, that's it. What the fans enjoy. People want
What
fans
about
to
you?
come like it and do enjoy. It's a low percentage shot. It's not a high percentage shot. Because when we played, we were taught if you have a shot, open shot, if you 20 feet out, try to get within 16 feet. If you're 16, try to get within 12. Then you get going on. You get as close to the hoop as you can. See, that's why we try to do. In case you miss, you can follow up and try to get your own rebound, which I did a lot of times.
Right. But when it all comes down to it, though, it's a low percentage shot.
It's a low percentage shot. The three-point shot is a low. But a lot of guys are proficient because Curry is just phenomenal. I've never seen anyone shoot like that in my life. I mean, he is just incredible. I mean, this guy just gets the ball and he can shut his eyes. I've seen him do that. Just close his eyes. He's close his eyes and still make three.
And run up the court before it actually splashes in.
It's unbelievable.
Hang Time, Elgin Baylor's new memoir, My Life in Basketball. And there you are on the cover wearing number 22. What's it like to have that bronze statue outside of Staples, Elgin?
Because when they first put the statues up, other statues, and I didn't have a statue, I would always get people ask, why don't you have a statue? Why don't you have a statue? And I really didn't think about it. I mean, it didn't bother me. I was just happy that I had a career, real good career. And now that, they put it up, I'm very grateful of it and appreciate it.
Yeah, and it looks like you're going to the rim right there. And there was Kareem out there with Shaq, Jerry West. My gosh, that is an all-time great lineup sitting right out there. Elgin, thanks again for coming in here. Really appreciate you sharing some memories, and everybody should go buy this book.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. Elgin Baylor, one of the all-time greats, the GOAT. Hang Time, My Life in Basketball.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.